Hey, this is Dave from Benediction, also from former bolt thrower vocalist from Downlord, Down Among the Dead Men, Echelon, Ursina, Hellfrost and Fire, Formaldehydist, Just Before Dawn, Stygian Dark, Sand Cadaver. Quite a lot, but anyway, you're watching Richard Metal Fan.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Richard Metal Fan Interviews. This is episode number 156, and today's guest I'm talking to Dave Ingram. He is a death metal vocalist from Birmingham, England in the UK. He fronts the bands Benediction, and he also fronts Down Among the Dead Men, Echelon, Formaldehydist, Hellfrost and Fire, Stygian Dark, Troikadon, and Ursine, and probably a bunch of other bands. Today we're going to be talking to him about what got him into metal, as well as doing a rundown of his extensive discography. So without further ado, let's go talk to Dave.
So what's up, guys? I'm here with Dave Ingram from Benediction, Down Among the Dead Men, Echelon, Formaldehydist, Hellfrost and Fire.
Okay, that's Echelon, Formaldehydist, Stygian Dark, Just Before Dawn, but I'm not with them anymore. Hellfrost and Fire, Ursina, just fire through them. There's a lot of bands that I'm doing, but yeah, mainly Benediction is the main one right now. And you know, mate, Richard, thanks so much for having me on, man.
Yeah, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. It's Saturday. I've got a beer, so yeah, all's well in the world.
Yeah, I need a beer right now, but it is like 11 in the morning my time.
It shouldn't stop you.
Yeah,
It wouldn't stop me.
hell yeah, can't go wrong there, man. Man,
No.
so how's it
I'm
going?
sorry, and while I'm here, my phone's going off, so I'm just going to switch it on to silent. I apologize
Okay.
about that.
Yeah, so how
There
is
we
it
go.
over? How is it over in Denmark where you're at?
Well, weather-wise, it's nice and warm. People-wise, it's very peoply, and everything else is great. I mean, it's the Danish summer, which lasts for about 6 days, and then we're right back into autumn. So yeah, we're just enjoying the nice weather, and things are going great. I'm just busy with writing at the moment, which we can get into in just a little while. But
Yeah,
busy writing and sorting out things here in the apartment. I'm trying to downsize all the things that I own. I've got a lot of crap I need to get rid of, so I'm very happy to be doing that.
awesome. So how long have you been living in Denmark for?
25 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I love it here. 1998, I moved over. What happened was in 95, I was touring with Benediction. We were actually on tour with Death at the time. We came to Copenhagen, and I met this girl, and we stayed in touch. We had a long distance relationship, and in 98, I decided to move to Denmark, and it was the best decision I ever made, especially considering the way England's gone down the toilet at the moment. So it really was the best thing I've ever done. So I'm very pleased, and I love it here. It's very relaxed lifestyle, and there's stress, but you know, a lot of it is you bring it on yourself. Besides that, it's just a lovely place to live. Food's great, beer's excellent.
Yeah.
So I'm happy.
Yeah, I heard like European beer is like the best compared to like here in America.
Well, there are differences, and there are comparisons that you can make, and then ones that you shouldn't make. I mean, I love Pabst Blue Ribbon, and that is the complete opposite of
that's my
European
go-to
beer.
for beer too. Whenever I go to like shows and stuff, I always go with a PBR.
Yeah, PBR is great. I love it. I think I sort of got into it due to the movie Blue Velvet. There's that scene with Frank Heineken, and I love that film. But yeah, that's how I got into it. And then I found places here in Denmark that sell it. So I'll occasionally go and buy a case or something just to feel Americanized, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's on a hot day. It is so good when it's ice cold on a hot day. Wow! Right now would be perfect.
Awesome. So kind of like the format is, I want to talk about like your musical journey and do like a quick rundown of your discography. But before we go into that, take me back to young Dave Ingram. So kind of growing up in Birmingham, England, where you're originally from, what were the first bands that got you into metal, and what made you want to be a vocalist?
Well, I actually started out as a bass player, and not a very good one, actually. to be quite honest with you. So the transit, and what happened was that the band I was in with as a bass player, the singer went on a trip around Europe, and we had some gigs lined up. So I took over vocals, and I began to think I'd prefer to sing than I would to play the bass. So when the position opened up with Benediction, and I went to the audition for it, got the job, and here we are now today. So that was the transition from becoming a singer. Right. Getting into the music, I was 7 years old when I first heard Black Sabbath's Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. I'm wearing the T-shirt because I had a feeling awesome you'd be talking about. Thank you. It's my favorite band, my favorite album of theirs, and it got me into that initial riff when the album opens. That first riff, that when I first heard it, I knew this was my musical path in life, and it was them that made me want to be in a band. Them and Iron Maiden, watching Iron Maiden play live.
Yeah,
wanted me to.
Like
that's where I wanted
band.
to be. I wanted. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The early stuff is just phenomenal. Later stuff I can listen to it as well because of the nostalgia I have from the early days. But yeah, it was Black Sabbath that got me into the music, got me into heavy metal, and the first single, the first 7-inch I ever bought was Tommy Gun by The Clash. So I have a punk upbringing as well. My mom was into Pink Floyd, so I had that sort of the sort of more mellow rock as well. So I had quite a good spectrum of music in my upbringing. So and now my tastes are quite eclectic anyway. So
awesome. So from what I was doing on my research on Metal Archives, I believe your first band, but you were playing bass, was Eye Gouger. Tell me about that.
Well, no, the first band I was in was there was a few sort of school bands that didn't do anything at all, but there was a band called Plague HDC. The HDC stood for Hippie Doomcore. We thought we were so edgy at the time, but yeah, that was sort of a hardcore punk grindy type of thing. They wanted to be the drummer really wanted the band to sound like Amebix, and I wanted it to sound like Creator, and I think we sort of got an amalgamation of the two, which sort of worked. And yeah, that was the first thing. Eye Gouger came around because I was visiting Chicago, and they needed a bass player, and they said, well, because I knew the guys, and they said, do you want to do this? And I actually used one of the songs I'd written for Plague HDC on the very first Eye Gouger demo, and I sang on it as well, just that one song. And so I did that for that. It took about 3 hours, I think, to record that demo. It was basically live in the basement at this guy's house in the suburbs of Chicago. It was fun days.
Awesome. And how did you get to know the guys in Benediction? Because I know you all formed in 1990.
I think they were actually back in 89, 88 when they formed. But yeah, they were in Birmingham, and I knew them from all the pubs and clubs and bars, and they would play gigs. There'd be gigs going on. Like Bolt Thrower would play. There'd be a lot of stuff like hardcore and the crusty punk stuff that would be going on, and it would be sort of a very communal thing. All the same people would go to all the gigs, and I'd see Benediction there, and I sort of got to know a couple of the guys. And then the one day we were saying it was actually that singer that was leaving my band to go on a trip around Europe, the Plague HDC singer, and we were saying goodbye to him that night. And we walked into this one pub, the Costermongers pub, which is my favorite pub in the entire planet. Benediction were in there, and they looked really depressed. And I said, "What's the matter, guys?" They said, "Oh, well, Barney's joined Napalm Death full time. We need a singer." And I was like, "I'll audition." And they said, "Oh, okay. Here's where we're at. Come on Saturday." So I went, I auditioned, and they pretty much told me that they had a couple more people to see, but I was the one they wanted to choose. And we went and played at a game of football and a few beers. And then about 4 days later, on the Wednesday afterwards, we met at the pub, and they said, "Yep, you got the job."
Wow. Oh, just like that.
Yeah. They needed a singer, and they needed someone that they could rely on. And in the week that I'd had from seeing them the one night up until the audition, I'd learned the entire album, Subconscious Terror. And even though they didn't play every song, they only did like 4, I think, from that album. So
Yeah.
they wanted to play more of their own, the newer material. Yeah, they. So when I showed them lyrics that I'd written for Plague and said, like, I've got these as well, we can use these, they were over the moon. So I think it all helped.
Yeah. Yeah. And were you kind of like nervous replacing like Barney Barney? Because usually when bands change singers, there's always that thing of like, will it work or won't it work? Because I remember like I did remember doing one interview, forget who it was, but I was talking about like, for example, with Iron Maiden, like when Paul Di'Anno left and then they got Bruce Dickinson, a lot of people were kind of skeptical because people were used to Paul Di'Anno. But when Bruce joined and then they put out Number of the Beast, it's obviously it's a metal classic and it pretty much
Yeah.
solidified the Maiden sound.
Yeah, I think that there were. I mean, it was pretty much the same when I was in Bolt Thrower. I was in Bolt Thrower for 6 years almost. And when we put out On a Valor Pride, and people were like, "Well, it's not Carl. It doesn't sound like Bolt Thrower." So, well, it's a different singer. Of course, it doesn't. It's still the same band, but it's a different singer. And it's that sort of situation. It's the same thing. I think once the Grand Leveler came out with Benediction, my debut with the band. I think it sort of calmed people's fears. Like there was no more anxiety from the fans. I was accepted. I do think, and I don't think I've never received any negative response from that. So that there it is. I mean, I have done since. Back then I didn't, but I have done since. But you if you don't make any enemies, then what are you going to do in your life? What are you
Right.
doing with it?
Yeah. Yeah. And when you first joined up with Benediction, do you remember like the first tour you did with the band? Did you like tour it outside of like the UK for the first time, or was it still just local?
No, it was 4 shows in England. We were opening act. After us were Paradise Lost, and headliners were Autopsy. So that was quite a good tour to be on, and it was fun as well. It was a lot of fun. And we did 4 shows. Let's see, it was Wrexham, which is sort of in Wales, Birmingham, London, and I think there was one up in Bradford as well, which is the north. So yeah, we sort of covered most of the country. Well, I'll say most, but the major areas. And it was fun. It really was fun. Like
Awesome.
I did 1 show prior to that with the band, my debut show, which was in Wrexham. It was a club, a big hall actually. That yeah, it was quite popular for gigs. So that was a good place to have me tested really. And yeah, we did that. I think it wasn't until '91 that we actually left England and went to Europe for the very first time. We did a full European tour, 5 weeks, with support from the French band Massacre.
Wow.
So yeah, we had a great time on that, and yeah, we learned a lot. How to live together in each other's pockets for 5 weeks without killing each other and things like that. Even though we did try a couple of times.
Yeah. And then of course your next album, Transcend the Rubicon, I think is a pretty good album. Did you feel like with that album you feel like more comfortable being in the band and contributed more with like the lyrics and
Well,
stuff?
yeah, actually, in between, actually, there was an EP, Dark is the Season, after the Grand Leveler. But yeah, Transcend was the next full length, and we did, yeah, we'd been in the studio, we were. Because obviously, Dark is the Season was recorded in the same studio that we did Transcend, and by then we'd sort of learned we were comfortable in the studio. It was the same studio. We knew the guy, the mixer, Paul Johnston, and we had a good time doing it. And yeah, there was definitely ease amongst all of us working together. We'd had a couple of a lineup change along the way. The bass player had gone from the Grand Leveler, and we didn't have a bass player on Dark is the Season. In fact, Darren, the guitarist, he played the bass, and I think actually maybe both guitarists participated on the bass for that. So, but
Yeah.
it definitely made things easier for all of us. With the experience. I mean, you gain it, you gain the experience, and you use what you've learned, and you just move on from there. It's a learning curve all the time.
Yeah, and I know this year does mark 30 years of Transcend the Rubicon. And so how do you feel about the album now 30 years later?
I feel fucking old is how I feel. But yeah, no, it's great, and people still lord over it. You know, they lap it up and they say how great it is, and that's that's really warming. It makes me feel so proud. You know, I've done something that 30 years later, people are loving, and in another 30 years, will they still be like? I might not be around in 30 years. But like, will people still be listening to the stuff after I'm gone, after the band's done, after all the main members of the band are dead? Right? We people are still going to listen to this stuff? I really hope so. I really
Yeah.
hope so. I mean, because the CDs are there, the vinyl's there, the cassettes are there, and digital music's going to live forever.
Yeah.
Like on the internet, that's not going to go.
Yeah, like YouTube and of course Spotify, and if you're like on the go somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And with the one thing that I always seem to remember is that because it's broadcast, like it's traveling through space right now, and it's just going on, and it's there. So if I don't believe in, I'm quite skeptical, but if there are sort of other civilizations, maybe they'll pick it up and go, wow, this Transcend the Rubicon's pretty fucking good. Who knows? ET phone Benediction.
Yeah,
I need another beer. Right.
as you should. But still 30 years. Is there like a chance maybe you'll do like a celebration somehow? Maybe do a tour where you play it start to finish?
We thought about that, and that would be detrimental to the new album. Scripture. Well, I say new album; it's a few years old now, but the latest album, Scriptures. It would be detrimental to not play as much of that, and also some of the other songs as well. So what we've been doing is playing the first 4 tracks from. No, the first 3 tracks from Transcend the Rubicon in the set, and sort of introducing them, saying, it's 30 years old. Here's some songs from it. And we are considering doing some other ones as well and changing things around. But yeah, we only get a certain amount of time to play, and we can't play everything. And it's actually very, very frustrating for us because we do have conversations on WhatsApp. We have a chat, a group chat for the band, and we talk about, well, what's the set list? What are we playing for this next gig? And it's like, well, do we want to drop that? No, but we have to play that, and then we need to play that, but we can't drop that, but we need to drop something, right? And I'm dropping IQ points just trying to sort it all out. But shit happens. But
Yeah.
we get there in the end, and we end up playing the ones that we all like, and it's going to be even harder once we've written a new album. Are we writing a new album? Yes, we are.
Yes, that's good to know. And then the next album, The Dreams You Dread, I like that. So what was that like going from Transcend the Rubicon to The Dreams You Dread?
Hang on. Sorry, just pouring the beer. Well, again, from Transcend to The Dreams You Dread, there was an EP in between. There was the Grotesque Ash and Epitaph EP. It was in between, which was just 2 new songs and then a bunch of live stuff on the other part of it. So it's not, there was a transition musically, but with The Dreams You Dread, we tried a slightly different approach with the production. And it's a little cleaner, a little shinier, shall we say? I think if we could go back and remix that album, because we don't have the original files anymore, the tapes. Or well, maybe we do, but I don't know. But anyway, if we could, I would love to remix that and try something different. I wouldn't re-record it, but I'd like to try a different mix. Give it a sort of a harder edge, a rougher edge to the mix, because I think that album really deserves it. And to be honest, if any album deserves a re-release, it's not an album; it's the EP, the Grotesque, because that was never released on vinyl, only on picture disc vinyl. Yeah. And I want the actual sort of cover. I want to be fair, I want the cover so that I can put it in a frame, put it on my wall, because I've got all the others up on my wall here. You see, that's the only one I don't fucking have.
Yeah. I'm usually.
By the way,
you're saying
I didn't ask. Can I swear? I just swore. So
hey, this is just for fun. This is just for fun. I don't make money off of this, so do whatever you want.
Okay, okay,
Fuck
cool.
censorship.
I don't want to upset people. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's like
I
it's
just
going
swear
on
too.
YouTube and you go, okay, because you then you have to put a warning and
Yeah.
you know.
Fuck
So
censorship.
anyway, but yeah, well, yeah, I totally agree, mate. Totally agree.
Awesome. And you also do some session work, because I know in 1996 you worked with Warlord UK with doing vocals for their album Maximum Carnage. So how'd you get to hook up with those guys?
Well, I'd known them for ages, and they hadn't got a deal. So I went to Nuclear Blast and I said, "Look, sign these guys. I'll do some vocals on the cover versions that are at the end, and they'll do the album. You know, because it's not me singing on the entire album. It's their singer Mark. I just do the cover versions that were at the end.
Yeah.
Now I've since told the band, and they have done. They re-released it without all those cover versions, just so that the album can be standalone. It can be better, and they've done that on actually on Transcending Obscurity Records that I'm signed to with a couple of my other bands, several of my other bands actually. And it was fun. They're from Birmingham, Warlord UK. They're from Birmingham, so it was just an easy step getting them to do it, and recording it at the same studio Benediction used, Rhythm Studios in I've forgotten the name of the place, something on Avon. I think I don't know. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was it was a fun time working with those guys, and they were lovely lads. And we actually went out on tour with them as well around Europe for a few weeks, about 3 weeks tour around Europe, and we went to Italy for the first time, and they came with us, and that was excellent. I've just remembered a story which I actually absolutely cannot relate to you right now, but because the singer from Warlord would kill me if I did. But it's actually made me smile. I'm going to be thinking about that tonight. So yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Nice one, Mark, for that one.
Yeah, but
I'll just say he was drunk, so that's all I will say.
Yeah,
and
when
he
you're
was
drunk,
making fun of the Italian promoter.
Yeah,
so
when
we
you're
won't
drunk,
say any more there.
Yeah, when you're drunk, you do sometimes do stupid shit.
Sometimes.
Yeah, or
every time.
or all the time, maybe, I don't know.
Every time.
Yeah, but
dear.
I listened to that Word album. I remember hearing like that cover of Raining Blood by Slayer, and I was like, God damn, that sounds fucking awesome.
You like that? Because I remember what happened was when I was doing the vocals for those that day, we went to the, did I do vocals on that Slayer song? I can't remember. But we went to the pub and we were watching the rugby, and I had about 3 or 4 pints of Guinness. And I always say to myself, don't drink before you do vocals, because the alcohol will relax your body. I can't sing, you can't force things. So to me, the vocals on that Warlord, it's not as powerful as they should be, because I'd had a few, pints of Guinness beforehand. So silly me, but still, that another reason why I told them to take them off when they re-released the album, because the album could stand alone far better on its own, and it does. It really does.
Awesome. And then, of course, the next thing is Grind Bastard. A pretty good album. It's a lot more just like really fast and to the point. So tell me about making this album.
One thing I need to point out is that's probably one of the worst album covers ever. And I was on that album, and in fact, the entire band, I think, agree with me. It's terrible. What were we thinking? I think at the time it was Meshuggah were doing those sort of computer graphic. It was very popular, so we thought we'd go with that as well. And we had that one, it like Lawnmower Man, Spider-Man type thing that's going on. It's terrible. But the album itself, but there was it's quite long. The album, it is quite a long album, and even with the 2 covers up there, is it 2 or 3? Can't remember.
Yeah, I think it did Twisted Judas, actually 3. It's Judas Priest who covered Destroyer by Twisted Sister, and We Are the League by Nowhere League.
Well, We Are the League wasn't at the same time. We did that. That was for a punk, actually an Anti-Nowhere League tribute album. But it got thrown on the album, I think on later releases on the CD, maybe.
Yeah, and I have sort of the later release.
But so it's Yeah, I mean, I was very pleased with the lyrics, and at the time, that was when I was not quite living here in Copenhagen, but well, I was visiting, and most of the lyrics on that album were actually written in the room I'm in right now, because I was visiting, and we were writing the album, and yeah, I had a feeling it might be my last one with the band at the time, but now I'm back in the band, and things are roaring again,
Yeah.
really. So
And how hard was it for you to like leave Benediction? Because I know you left the band in '98, so after
'98,
right at the same
yeah,
time
it,
that
it was,
Grindmaster.
yeah, it was tough. It was a tough decision. Moving to Denmark was part of it, and there was a few other things as well. But and you know what? To dwell on stuff like that, that's the negative thing. I think it's more better to dwell on the positive aspects that the band have continued throughout that 25 years or 30-year gap, whatever, 25 years gap without me. And they continued, they thrived, even when the scene took a nosedive and went all quiet. Benediction was still there. Benediction was still playing. Benediction was still writing. Admittedly, only 2 albums, but the scene was so quiet at the time. And kudos to the band for keeping going. Fucking stalwarts. And now, again, even more positive, you got me back again. So
Because
shit really does happen.
Yes, because it ain't Benediction without Dave. I mean, no offense to the other guys, but you're like the OG.
No, I can applaud what you're saying, but I can also say Benediction wouldn't have been Benediction without Dave Hunt, the other singer. It also wouldn't have been Benediction without Barney. So I'm of the school that the band evolved. It evolved through many different changes, and those people, they came, they went, they were needed, they were necessary, they were absolutely necessary. And if without them, the band wouldn't have survived.
Right.
The band wouldn't have done anything. So
but
so
then
they're all good.
Yeah. Kind of going into the year 2000, I know you did some more session work with the Atobic. You did a demo called Starfucker Corp. So tell me about like that. I can't find anything about it online, like any songs or anything.
My good goddamn, I was trying to think of the name of the band just the other day. I was walking to work and I was like, what's the name of the band that I did that work with? And it's Atobic. And I could not remember. And you have just told me who it is. Thank you so much.
Hey,
Because I can still remember the recording session. I can still remember the lyrics. There were four lines of lyrics that I sang, and I can still remember them for some reason. Because it was me and my very close friend Mass Horley, who now plays guitar in Undergang, the Undergang, the Danish band. We both drove over, and we were at the Atobic Studios way out in the sticks here in it wasn't in Copenhagen, it was a long way away. And we recorded that. That was that was a long time ago. But yeah, I still remember the 4 lines. I draw first blood, death claims you, it's a fading scene of pure violence. Those are the 4 lines. I can still remember them. I don't even know if I've got a copy. I hope I have. That would be funny to hear again. But yeah, that was fun. It was fun. The Danish scene's very close. People know everybody here.
Yeah.
And you're going to. It's pretty much like Birmingham was back in the 90s and also the late 80s. And it's the same here in Copenhagen. You go to a gig and you see all the people that you know. Everyone goes to the gigs, and you go to a gig and you know who you're going to see. Yeah. And if no one's there, if there's somebody isn't there that you thought were going to be, you're like, why aren't you here? Like, and you give them a text. And like, come on down. And yeah, it's quite a family. It's a family thing over here. I like it. I love it.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, and then, of course, 2001, you dropped Honor, Valor, Pride, your first record with Bolt Thrower. I love this album. Very underrated album, too, in my opinion. So tell me about making this album and how getting to know the guys in the band.
Well, I knew Bolt Thrower from, Benediction toured with them in 92, and we'd known them over the years. A very long time. We're very close. Still are. And yeah, I'd left Benediction, and I had like there was about 6 months, and then Bolthrower called me and said, "Look, Carl's left. How would you like to join?" I sort of checked with the family, and they said, "Yeah." So yeah, we got it going on. That's how it was. Basically, that was it, really. And the 6 years I was with Bolthrower, almost 6 years actually. Yeah, it was some really great times. I'm very proud to have been a part of the band. And as you say, it's an underrated album. A lot of fans pass it by because it's a different lineup, and it's understandable. People are fickle, and I know that you can't please all of the people all of the time, and I'm okay with that, because eventually people will come around and go, okay, I'll give this a spin.
Yeah.
And then when they do, they'll say, oh, okay, yeah, that's something we missed. And,
Yeah.
it eventually will get appreciated.
Yeah.
It's what do they call it? One of those sleeper classics, maybe. I don't know if that's the term. I don't know. I've been drinking.
It's all good. Like I said, I also have the vinyl, and of course I have it with heavy. It has your signature on it, because when I saw you on the Mass Destruction Fest in Atlanta last November, I met you, and you're like really cool as shit.
Oh, I was probably sober.
Yeah.
I
have no
Actually,
idea.
no, I probably wasn't.
It was like I think it played like late. I managed to meet you at like 1 a.m.
Okay, yeah, then I definitely wouldn't have been sober. No, I definitely wouldn't have been. But that festival, that was a struggle to get there. We had so much problems with getting the visas, because some of us have had visas before, so it was a walkthrough. I'd had not a work visa, but a tourist visa from 10 years prior, and they just said to me, they sort of waved a magic wand and said, "Oh, there you go." And I jumped through hoops to get everything ready and fill out the forms, and they eventually just said, "Yeah, fine, stamp it. There you go." And when I got there, the guy at the airport, he didn't even look at the visa. He just sort of opened the passport, stamped it, and handed it back, and said, "Off you go." And I was like, I didn't even need a bloody visa. Like, it was just crazy.
Yeah.
But we want to do it properly. We want to do it legally. We don't want to get banned from America. I certainly don't.
Yeah.
I want to come over. There's things with my with the Church of Satan that I want to come over to at some point. So I don't want to get banned.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, with Bolt Thrower, yeah, it was 6 years, and I left because I got ill. I had some mental illness problems, and I needed to recuperate. I needed to regenerate, and yeah, so I had to leave. And they got Carl back, and look, they did Those Once Loyal album, and what a magnificent fucking piece of music that is.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great album. It sucks that I think that was like their last album before they broke up. Oh, they toured.
Well,
after that.
the drummer passed away, Martin Kiddy.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to carry on, and I can totally understand that.
Yeah.
And I just hope some of the fans can as well. They really need to understand Martin passed away, and both of them weren't just a band; they were a family. So
yeah. Yeah, but anyway, moving on, because I know you did some more I think session work, because in 2003 you worked with a Strangler, and you did a demo called Infinite Blood Ambulance. Tell me about like that.
It's Infinite Blood Abundance.
I sort of fucked. That was my fault. I fucked up there.
No, don't worry. But I didn't actually perform on that at all. That was absolutely not me whatsoever. We actually planned around that time to because the band had broke up. They did that demo and pretty much broke up, and we were going to reform it. I was going to do the vocals because the guitarist Mass, my friend Mass, who's now in Undergang, he was saying that he couldn't do the vocals and the guitar because the vocals were very intense, and he couldn't do that and play guitar at the same time. So I said, well, I'll do vocals, and we were going to, but then a couple of the other members went into other projects, and it all just sort of fell apart. And I also started doing another band in Denmark, which I don't know if it's on your list, but we'll find out in just a moment.
Yeah, it's Downlord.
That's the one. Yes. Yes. We did Download, yeah. Originally called Full Scale Hatred, but apparently someone in the band thought that name was too scary.
Really?
Anyway, we had to change it. So I came up with Download because at the time, downloading music from the internet was quite popular. So I thought Download, let's try that. We did a couple of demos that, one of them finally got assigned, and we released both demos on an extended EP called Grind Trials.
Yeah.
And then we did a full album called Random Dictionary of the Damned. They were all on Open Grave Records.
Yeah. And how did they find
What
Downlord?
a terrible label that is. Sorry?
Yeah, how did like Open Grave Records find Downlord? Or...
No, they probably had. No, you know what? I was always told not to say anything nasty, but they were cunts.
Damn. Then were they trying to fuck you over or something?
I don't have a very good opinion of Open Grave Records, so I should stop right there.
Yeah.
So, but no, yeah, we just sort of found them online, and yeah, they said they'd release it, and that was it. So, but after I think we did the two releases, the extended EP and the full length album, and then we did a few shows. We actually supported Bolt Thrower on a few shows around Scandinavia, and then we decided to call it a day. We'd done what we wanted to do, and myself and the one guitarist wanted to do internet radio, and we did. We started a radio show, a podcast, called Metal Breakfast Radio. I haven't put that in my list here, but it's and it's not still it. Well, it's sort of still going. I haven't actually announced that it's stopped yet, but obviously I can't do it because I'm so busy with Benediction and all these other bands. But we're going to be coming back probably when I'm in my 60s or something. So it's going to be a few years, but the show will return. But it was fun. It was fun to do back then. We did it for about 10 years, I think. Listen to new music, drink beer, and then make fun of it. Yeah, basically, this is what we did. And it was all for comedic effect. And some people got really offended. It's like, okay, well, that's on you, guy. So, but we had fun doing it. So, but it was time to do something else, and I did as well. So,
yeah, and kind of like going into to 2009, you did some more session work with Bonesaw. You did the helped with the vocals on the Sawtopsy album. So tell me about like that.
I can't remember.
Oh wow!
No, I think I do remember something that I did. To be honest with you, mate, there's a lot of session work I did over the years that I won't remember everything. But I think Bonesaw. I remember. Oh, of course, it's Callum. It's my mate Callum from Scotland. Yes, I remember those guys. Oh, for God's sake! Oh, if he sees this, he's going to kill me. Oh God,
yeah, we're sorry, man.
I'm a dead. Oh no, I'm a dead man walking. Oh. So that was a terrible Scottish accent as well. He's going to kill me twice now. But yeah,
that's great, man.
So I remember the Bonesaw thing. Yes, that was fun. I did quite a lot of sort of guest work over the years. There was a bunch while I was still doing Metal Breakfast Radio, and we weren't actually me and my friend Donovan, who we were doing the Metal Breakfast Radio thing. We didn't really produce any music. Particularly, only we wrote it and we recorded it, but we didn't put it out. It was for us. We were just, having a laugh. We enjoyed doing it. I think there was one song we put out, which was, I can't even remember the title, but it was on some Czech Republic compilation album, some punk thing that we did. We did this sort of hardcore thing, and it worked out well. We had a good time doing it. And yeah, I think all the copies of that album that I got sent, I handed out for free. So I didn't want any money for it. It was just too much fun. So
yeah. And then kind of like going into 2013, you started up Down Among the Dead Men and you did the self-titled album. So tell me about like forming that band. How did you form that band and get to know all the guys that were in there?
Well, it was Roger Johansson, the Swedish mastermind behind pretty much every death metal band from Sweden. Um, he wrote me and said, would you like to do a project, guest vocals rather, on my one band? What were they called? They were very Lovecraft orientated. I can't remember the name. Shit, Roger's going to kill me as well now. Anyway, we did that. And I said to him, would you like to do a full-length album? And I'm really into hardcore and punk, and you're doing metal, so let's do a crossover. And so we did Down Among the Dead Men. The name comes from, because I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, if you didn't know, then it comes from a character within the Doctor Who universe called Bernice Summerfield. She's an archaeologist, and she wrote a book called Down Among the Dead Men. And all the songs from that first album are all titles of stories, audio books about this character, Bernice Summerfield. And the following albums from Down Among the Dead Men, the albums in the 7-inch as well, every song is about Doctor Who. I said to Roger, like, I need to vent my inner geek. And he said, yeah, do it this way. So obviously there's Down Among the Dead Men, the debut. Then comes Exterminate, Annihilate, Destroy, which is the battle cry of the Daleks. These things, if you didn't know. And then there's the third album, And You Will Obey Me, or And You Will Obey, rather, which is the catchphrase of one of Doctor Who's villains called the Master. So, yeah, I had to... I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, so I like to do that, that sort of thing. And even in lyrics today, in other bands, even on the new latest Benediction album, Scriptures, there's some Doctor Who lyrics in there.
Yeah.
Because I'm just that much of a geek about it.
Yeah. And hard to believe it's also been 10 years since the first Down Among the Dead Men album. So how do you feel about that album now, 10 years later?
It's not quite 10 years. It's actually going to be 10 years on the 22nd of November, which is the day before the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. That was the reason we released it on the 22nd of November, 10 years ago.
Timing.
Because it would have been exactly. And it was. It also got a simultaneous release on Metal Blade Records, because it was the first album. The debut was on Cyclone Empire Records, and they were affiliated with Metal Blade. So that Metal Blade released it in America. But later albums didn't. I think Cyclone Empire, they kind of buried the second album because at the time we were doing a different band, me and Roger, and the album came out almost simultaneously, and Cyclone Empire were not happy about that. So I don't think they bothered giving us any promotion. So the second album kind of got buried, and that made me sad, because I really wanted people to hear that. But, well, shit happens. It's out there. You can hear it. It's online. It's on YouTube. Look it up. It's there. I hate to say that, look it up. But, please, give it a listen.
Oh, good. I know also in 2015 you did another, of course, that other Down Among the Dead Men, but he also did Achillean with Indulgence Over Abstinence.
Echelon.
I keep fucking it up for some reason.
Don't worry about it. But yeah, it's Echelon.
Echelon.
But Indulgence Over Abstinence, Behind the Obsidian Veil. A very long album title, because
and a tongue twister, I should say. Try saying that 5
yes,
times
because I'm a pretentious cunt at times. But yeah, we did that. What happened was Roger actually got the music and the whole thing recorded, and he said, "Look, I've got this album. It's something I did years ago, which, listening to it, you can tell. It's a bit basic, but it works." I've since said to Roger, "Let's re-record that album. Let's redo it. Let's give it a modern sound." And I think it would be good to do that. And we've ummed and ahed about it then the pandemic came, of course, so we stopped doing it. But we wanted to do something new as well, which we did. But we are going to re-record that album at some point. I look forward to it. But since then, we've also done the Brimstone Aggrandizement and the most recent one, Open Wide, the Adamantine Gates. Those three albums, I would say, are the lyrical subject is Satanism. I'm a Satanist. I'm a member of the Church of Satan. I'm a priest in the Church of Satan. Yeah, it's a philosophy of choice for me. And I'd like to do a band that actually, because there are so many bands that sing about Satanism, that isn't Satanism, and this is the parts of the philosophy put to music. And I've always said, if you want to know more about it, go to churchofsatan.com and read the frequently asked questions section, and you'll get all the information you want. It will answer all your questions, because believe me, they've all been asked. So go get the info there. Don't ask me, because I'm not your teacher.
Yeah.
I mean you. I mean everybody.
Yeah. And then kind of going into 2016, I know you did some additional vocals with Cemetery Filth with Four Doors to Death. It's sort of like a split, and they're actually from my home state. So tell me about working with them. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, I am very good friends with Maddie.
I know Maddie.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, she's awesome. She's awesome. Great guitarist.
Yeah.
And I remember when we actually played Atlanta, she was there.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like front row. But after we played, I think the security cleared the room, and I never got to meet her. It's like, oh, God damn it. I've known her for a decade, maybe more.
Wow.
And security cleared the room, and never got to meet her. It's like, damn it. So, but yeah, Cemetery Filth, that was a lot of fun. That really was. I really enjoyed that. Right, it's a good band, great band. Check them out if you check them out if you don't know them, people.
Yeah. I've only seen them live once. I think they were playing with this band called Left to Die. They're sort of like a death tribute. It had the Terry Butler, Gus Rios, who also plays with Gruesome, and a couple others I can't remember. And thought they were pretty good. I remember my buddy Tristan actually plays drums for Cemetery Filth, and he's another one of my good friends.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I would say Cemetery Filth is a band I would love to play a gig with.
Yeah, I could.
It'd be great to share a stage with those.
Like doing like a tour. As long as you do it in the States, I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, exactly. We definitely need to. I mean, I love the States, and I actually the East Coast. I've never been to the West Coast. I've been in Chicago for a long time, back in the late 80s, early 90s. Spent like several months there, and loved it, and would go back in an instant, especially Chicago. But yeah. So that's all in the future. Let's see what happens. So
and then tell me about making Echelon. Finally said it right this time with the Brimstone Aggrandizement. Tell me about that.
Well, we had because the first album, it was just me and Roger, and on Brimstone Aggrandizement, it was a full lineup. We had everyone, and it was the bass player, I believe, that mixed the album as well. And he did a cracking job. He really did a great job. And it was a great bass player as well. It was the sound on that album is, whenever I say to a producer, or for example, when I was doing the Benediction album, Scriptures, I'd play a little of the Brimstone Aggrandizement, and I would say, try and get the vocals like that, because that vocal sound was, I loved it. It was powerful and it was clear, and that was great for me. So it was fun to do. It really was.
Yeah.
And it was all done here in this room. I'm actually pointing right now at the vocal setup I've got in the corner over there. Unfortunately, I can't show you because computer and whatever. But it's all set up in the corner. And I record it here at home, so my own wee little studio.
Yeah. And then from 2016 to 2017, you hooked up with the Hail of Bullets. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I saw them online. They said Martin had gone. He'd left, and I wrote to them on their Facebook post and said, if you need a stand-in singer for this gig in the Maryland Death Fest, or was it the Milwaukee Death? I can't remember. It begins with an M anyway. And I said, I'll do it if you need someone. And a lot of people sort of were liking the comment and sort of replying to it, saying like, "Yeah, get this guy to do it. Get this guy to do it." So I did. And it was during the gig they actually said on stage, "Okay, he's our new full-time singer." And we did another gig about 6 months later, and so in total it was about 18 months I was working with the band.
Yeah.
But it just ended. It was the plug was pulled, and we didn't get to record. We had some songs ready, but yeah, we never got to record them, which was sad. But this is how it is in the business now and again. So shit happens.
Yeah, and I know also in 2017 you joined Troikadon. Tell me about that.
Okay, well, now Troikadon was going to be myself, Cam Lee, and Carl Willits on vocals, like triple vocals. And we sort of said about this. We were going to do this, and everything was being planned. And we actually recorded a couple of pieces of music, and then we gave it to Cam first, Cam Lee, and he recorded full vocals on this one song. And he said, "This is where you'll sing. This is where you'll sing. This is where Carl sing. Blah blah." And eventually, our schedules just never met up. We were all busy with other things, and we decided that it's not fair to keep people waiting around. So we're just going to pull it. And the music that was written for Troikadon got used elsewhere. I shan't say where because, to be honest, I don't know. But it was used for something else, another project. But it never came to be. There's only one song ever been made available, which I played on Metal Breakfast Radio, my radio show, some years ago. And it's only with Cam singing. So yeah, it was sad, but it's how it is. Our schedules didn't meet because Carl was doing Memoriam at the time. I was sort of in between with Hail of Bullets and the other projects that I had going, and Cam was working with Massacre again. So yeah, none of us could get together to get this sorted and have the whole schedule align. So
yeah,
but it happens.
It is what it is. But then not year you joined up with Ursine and you did Swim with the Leviathan. Tell me about that.
Well, it's Ursina. It's a Swedish word which means hatred.
Oh.
An old Swedish word. Swim with the Leviathan. Yeah, that's me and Johnny Peterson. In fact, one of the promo shots of me and him together is actually taken at the festival I did with Hail of Bullets in America. I just walked off stage, and Johnny said, "Let's take a photo." So if you look at me, I'm all covered in sweat. So we had the photo done right there. So it's not the one on the album; that's a different one. But it's some promo shots we put out as well. Anyway, yeah, doing that, and yeah, it was fun. Really was. We did a few cover versions on there that I've always wanted to do. We had Cam Lee came in, did some vocal work with us. We had a friend from New York do some work with us as well. It was fun to do. Very Swedish sound.
Yeah.
That sort of everything on 11 on your guitar pedal. But yeah, it was fun. But it was well received. But people were like, "You did 4 cover versions. Why didn't you write more of your own material?" So, well, we don't have to do what you say. Right?
Yeah.
it's like just let the band be the band.
Yeah.
And people just sometimes people really get on my nerves about stuff like that. It really pisses me off.
Yeah, sometimes
But,
you gotta be like,
yeah.
fuck the haters, just do what you do.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not going to change. I'll do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
But people. That's all you have to say. People.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course, going to 2018. I know you did two things with that Down Among the Dead Men. You did the And You Will Obey Me, and you also did an EP that same year, State of Decay / Inferno. Tell me about like that, because I know that EP literally came out like a day or two so after the album.
Yeah, it was some label that asked if they could do it, and we said, yeah, sure. We got these couple of tracks that were left over from the previous album recording, and we did the I mean, even the record label that we were on was pushing it as well. So that was very cool. I mean, a different label, like we're pushing the EP, and then And You Will Obey came out, and it came out with like a box set vinyl. It was the first time I'd seen anything like that for me, with like a box with a vinyl with a T-shirt and a copy of the CD. It was brilliant. So yeah, again, I've got a fly here. Sorry, it's obviously come out of my wallet. It was just this great thing with Doctor Who again. Me being the eternal geek that I am, and loving every minute of it. So I think that Down Among the Dead Men, we are going to do another album, but not quite sure when. But more on that in a bit.
All right. And then also 2018, 2019, you were in Just Before Dawn. How'd you get to know those guys?
Well, that was just after I'd left, the Hail of Bullets had finished. I wrote to the guys because they've been asking me to do this work with them, and we'd done almost an album's worth of songs. Now, Just Before Dawn, basically a band. There's set people in the band for the studio, musicians, but the vocalists, they always change with different vocalists. And on this one album, Tides of Blood, I sort of wrote and recorded most of the vocals on it. I think there's one song maybe without me, and another one where I wrote the lyrics but didn't perform them. So I said, look, we've got this album. Let's go out and play some shows. And they were really into that idea. So that's where that came from. And we went out. I think we did about 10 shows together, around Europe. It really was a lot of fun. They were great guys to hang out with and drink with, and they were very Swedish. Not that that's a problem. But obviously the drummer was from England. He was English as well. So we got along great. It was a different kind of camaraderie than other bands, but it was still very, very similar, and we had a good time. And the shows were great. We were well received as well. We had good crowds at these gigs. And I do miss them. But around that time, it was getting close to when Benediction asked me to rejoin, and I just couldn't do both. Couldn't do both bands.
And what made you decide to come back to Benediction?
Well, they asked me.
Yeah.
They asked me to rejoin, and I said yes.
Yeah.
Originally, it was just going to be temporary. Well, it was going to be temporary. There were their singer Dave Hunt at the time was going to be away doing some work with his PhD, which he's now got. Congrats, mate. And they said, he can't make these shows. Would you come and do them? Well, this is for the fan thing. And I said, yeah, that'd be great. But then Dave said that he couldn't commit to another album. He couldn't commit to the band, which was, admirable of him, because he was doing a PhD for fuck's sake, right? And so he wanted to put his studies first, perfection. So they asked me back, and here I am, and that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, and then of course 2020, you dropped Scriptures, your first record back with the band. How was it
Yeah.
like being in the studio with these guys making your first album in like fuck, like 18 years, 12 years, or however long it's been?
Well, it was, I think, 12, 13 years for them. For me, it was 25, 26 years before I'd, been with them. But yeah, it was cool. Nothing had changed. The humor was still there. The studio antics were still going on. We had all the fun as before. It was as if someone had just hit the pause button and then hit the play button again, and we just carried on as we were before. So just that we were a little, well, okay, a lot older, but yeah, and it was still just as much hilarity as it always was, because it is funny being with Benediction.
Yeah.
And you can see us on stage. We have a laugh together. We do have a very good time in each other's company. So
yeah, because when I saw you all like last November in Atlanta, I thought it was like you guys were like fucking awesome. But I remember in between songs you were like cracking jokes, and it almost feels like a comedy show at the same time.
exactly, yeah. Well, in England they call it a pantomime. And yeah, it's the Benediction pantomime comes to town. Yeah, which could possibly be a derogative thing to say, but it's what it is. But we want to have a good time. We want to have a laugh, and we want the audience to have a laugh as well as enjoying the music that we play. So there's two sides to it. There's having a laugh, and then the intense death metal music or whatever. So yeah, that's what we want, and that's what I'm trying to bring, because that's me. Like, I'm trying to bring a smile to people's faces, as well as making them putting the horns up in the air. So
Yeah.
that's what I want.
And being as it has been almost 3 years since Scriptures, like I think you touched upon it already. What's the status with the next Benediction album?
We got a bunch of songs written. We're still going to tweak them a little bit. We got about 7 written. I think maybe 6, and I've got 7 and 8 that I'm working on this laptop right here. Yeah, we got that. So yeah, that's coming along. I can't really say much about it because I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah.
Do you know of a band called Stygian Dark?
Oh, yeah, that was actually what I was going to talk about next, because I know you did
Bingo.
the Gore Words of Lore. Tell me about like that.
Yeah, Gore Lords of War. We did that one in, I can't remember the year, but it was a couple of years ago. It was released on 2 labels simultaneously. The one label did it on CD, another did it on vinyl.
That's weird.
And
why not one label, all
yeah,
2 things?
Well, the one label was owned by the guy who was playing bass in the band at the time. So we got him to release it on vinyl. So, because I personally, I like vinyl. I'm a vinyl nut. So
Same.
I wanted him to release it on vinyl. So we got that. Yeah. We got it's being re-released right now with bonus tracks, or a bonus track, and some other intros only on CD though. And there's also a 7-inch coming out on Slaughterhouse Records in America, and it's also available in Europe, a 7-inch with 2 tracks on it. I should have thought beforehand and had one to hand to show you, but they're on the shelf over that side of the room. But anyway, yeah, it's coming out now. You can pre-order, and you should get your copy within a few weeks. Slaughterhouse Records. Go and have a look if you want to buy one. Very cheap. I think he's got it in America. You can buy it for $6.66.
Nothing's more metal than that price.
Postage. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was fun. Again, it was with Roger Johansson. The entire album is all about fictional serial killers and the thoughts that go through their head. They are the Gore Lords of War because they just wade in gore. They live their life in a war of death, and that's what I thought about with that. Like serial killers, but I didn't want it to be real serial killers, so I made it's all the point of view of serial killers. and one of them is actually you'll have to look it up yourself and on the lyrics and see if you can spot it. But one of them is about a female serial killer, so it all works for me.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I really did enjoy writing the lyrics for that album, and we have another one that we're writing. But again, I'm busy with Benediction at the moment, so but it is coming soon.
Awesome. And then I know also in 2021 you did Pickled for Posterity by Formaldehydist. This I probably butchered.
That's the one, Formaldehydist. Yeah.
Yeah, I managed to say it right. So
yeah, that was me and Rogger again. Yeah, me and Rogger, and the drummer John, who was also in Stygian Dark. And also vocalist, second vocalist, Mass, the guy from Undergang, the Danish band, my very good friend. We just wanted to do this sort of silly type of, not like Autopsy, but the other band that Autopsy did called Eat My Fuck. Do you know that band?
That's news to me. I need to check that out.
Okay, Autopsy did a band called Eat My Fuck.
Eat My Fuck.
It's called what was it? Krusty Slit and a Bottle of Whiskey. I think their album was called something like that. Yeah, it's sort of that sort of style. It's about drinking and stupid, the gore core, porn core, whatever. But it's not really porn that we do. But yeah, it's that sort of sloppy metal style, sloppy death metal, and it was just for fun. And it was released on this one label that I'm not even going to mention because I found something very bad about the label. And now I will give the damn album away as a download for free. We are considering recording a second album and putting the first album on there as a bonus track. So we'll see. Again, this is something that we've got lined up for the future.
Yeah, and like you're in so many like bands, like what's sort of like the mind frame that goes behind like all the bands? You have to like maybe adjust like your vocal styles, like depending on like the projects that you're in.
A little. There's one band that we haven't spoken about is Hellfrost and Fire. That's quite a recent one as well. That is a project that it's basically a homage to Celtic Frost and Hellhammer, hence the name Hellfrost. And the reason I added the and fire is not because there's a band called Hellfrost already, but the fact that Hellfrost and fire is the passion that I have for those two bands, because those two bands they influenced me so much for doing death metal. So yeah, and now that I'm good friends with Tom G. So yeah, this whole thing is a wonderful band for me to do. And if you listen to it, it is very much Celtic Frost and Hellhammer worship. And we are going to do a second album. So there's actually, let me just quickly say, there's going to be a second album from Earth Sinner. There'll be a new Stygian Dark, obviously, a new Down Among the Dead Men, Hellfrost and Fire, and Formaldehydist. All those projects are going to have new releases within the next couple of years.
Yeah.
But obviously right now I'm writing Benediction. So
yeah, I know June last year you did the last Echelon album, Open Wide, the Damnatine Gates. I listen to
Adamantine Gates.
Yeah.
Adamantine. Yeah.
Tell me about like that. It's fucking great.
Yeah. It was the music from that was going to be used in another band, but then never was. But the lineup that we used on that were pretty much the same as the previous album, the Brimstone Aggrandizement. Besides, I think the drummer was different now. So we Roger said, like, this other band, I know who it is, and I won't say. This other band, they're not going to use this album. It's the same lineup as pretty much the same lineup as the previous Echelon album. Shall we use it for that, for the next Echelon album? So I said yes, of course. And it actually has the same sound and the same feel to the previous album. So I was very happy to use it. And being English, I hate waste. So it was good that this album these pieces of music weren't thrown away. We actually got to use them. So, yeah. And it was again about Satanism, and yeah, I'm very proud of the 3 Echelon albums that we've done. So
Yeah.
I hope people listen to them.
Yeah. And then also July last year, you did the Sinner with Brotherhood. Tell me about like that, because I know that stylistically it's just like straight up heavy metal.
Yeah, of course. It was obviously being signed with Benediction to Nuclear Blast, and the guys from Nuclear Blast knowing the band Sinner, and yeah, they wrote and said, would you be up for doing this, for part of this project? And I said, yeah, sure, on this song. And Benediction were at a festival in Germany, and a guy came up to me and said, here's your copies. Thanks so much for doing it. Because obviously Matt Sinner was too ill to be there at the time, which is very sad, but he's doing better now, so which is very good. But yeah, we got that done, and it was. I mean, I grew up on heavy metal, so it wasn't a big difference for me to do that. But it was a bloody honor and a pleasure.
Anyway,
Okay.
luckily we have like one thing left. And I know in February you did like a spoken word for a Furnace with the Casa trilogy. Tell me about that.
Yes. And the story on that will extend, actually. Yeah. I was asked to do that, and by Peter, and yeah, it was a pleasure, because Peter worked with Roger, and I've worked with Roger as well, of course, over the years, many years, 10 years. The thing is, I worked with Roger for 10 years, never met the guy. We've done almost 10 albums together. I think maybe, 10 albums, but I've never met him. It's all been done online. So, yeah, that's kind of fun. But working with Peter, just for that was great. And it was a good introduction, because right now, me and Peter are working on a Doom project together. This is something that's not many people know yet. It's called Sand Cadaver, and the album will be called The Coyote's Call to the Dead. We're working on that right now. I'm sort of getting the lyrics together, sort of not so much the lyrics per se, but notes that will help me write the lyrics. I'm going to get all together right now. And we have the music. It's all done. Drums will be played by Giovanni from Benediction. So it's we got him on there as well, the Italian stallion. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, because it is, again, something different that I've not done before, particularly. I've never done doom metal. What I wanted to do was do some sort of desert rock, but it came out doom metal, and I'm not going to complain with that. Yeah. So, and will there be clean singing on it? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you'll tell me when I.
The reason I don't know is because I don't even know if I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although it may be, there's this one song on that album that sounds a bit like a Motorhead song. It's like a ballad, but on the Motorhead ballad, I can't remember which one it is. Lemmy actually still sings like Lemmy on the ballad. So I'm thinking, yeah. I still might do it like that. So we'll see. We'll see.
That's awesome, man.
I'm not really into doing clean singing myself, but it might be fun just to do it once and
just gotta yell
get
at
made
people.
fun of for the sake of it. Yeah, exactly, and have them yell at me about it. So
yeah, but yeah. So before we go, I just want to thank you for your time, Dave. It was great to be able to chat with you, and go through all your albums and that you've worked on. Is just anything else with Benediction or any of your other projects you would like to plug? And is there a chance maybe you could bring Benediction over to the States for a tour eventually?
Well, we're thinking about it. Well, I say we're thinking about it. We've always think about coming to the States with Benediction. There's a lot of logistics that go into doing tours. It's like a lot of personal stuff that goes into that as well. Somewhere like the States it's difficult, obviously, with I said about the visas earlier on. Yeah, and also something such as right now we're writing, so we need the time either in England, or if I can do the vocals here in Denmark, we're going to need that. So for the time being, we're not going to say definitely no, but we're going to say maybe with the States. Um, as for other projects, well, I think I gave everything to you. You know, there's the new Sand Cadaver stuff. There's Sinner, Stygian Dark, Down Among the Dead Men, Hellfrost and Fire, Formaldehyde. Everything's getting a second album, or maybe a third, or like with Down Among the Dead Men, it will be a fourth album. So there's new material coming. So
Awesome.
And it is needed. It's timely. It's definitely needed, because some of these bands haven't put anything out for a long time. So I need to do this. And because I love being busy. But the thing is, when I'm busy, I suddenly find that I'm so busy with everything else that I'm in a turmoil as to get everything finished. So, but you know what? Stress sometimes makes some of the best albums. I remember when I recorded the second Echelon album, the Brimstone Aggrandizement, I was so stressed and busy because of Hail of Bullets at the time that I thought it was going to be terrible. It actually turned out fucking brilliant. So
Yeah.
that's how it goes at times.
Yeah. It's just great. So everybody, Dave Ingram, we'll see you next time.